So it really is about human connection and storytelling, because obviously the conversations are so rich and you get more out of it. Because I wasn't very good with maintaining those connections. I wish I maintained that connection. This is
corporate life can get really challenging, and it's never the task that's the challenge. It's usually people. And the relationships that we build and being able to grow those relationships. And I think there are absolutely times where I have struggled in the last 10 years.
So Callum and Zarina, we'll be moving on towards the next part. We'll talk about more on the beyond work and your mentorship and volunteering work that you do outside of work. So Zarina, you have been part of you are into Australia.
Key into Australia.
The volunteering program. So can you tell us more about what is it, what does it do, and what motivated you to do this program?
Yeah, so I was in my previous role for almost 10 years. And during COVID, I was made redundant, not because of COVID, but because the company was going through a private equity takeover. So the redundancy was always on the card. What was unexpected was COVID. And so for me, what happened was, here I was on a trajectory to say a path towards CFO. But then when COVID happened, no one wanted a rookie CFO. Companies were also slashing the layer of management that I was in, which meant the only roles available to me were junior roles, the roles that I'd done 10 years ago with a significant pay cut. And so I went, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And so after quite a lot of, internal reflection, I went, right, what is it that this is an opportunity. So I now saw it as an opportunity to really work out what is the stuff that I love doing at work. It definitely wasn't the accounting, but it was working with the teams through mentoring and through just guiding the career paths and teaching and learning new stuff. And I thought, okay, well, I've got my accounting that pays the bills, so I still need to find a job in accounting, but how do I now make all this other bit fulfilling? And that's when I thought, because I'd been so busy working, where if life is a piece of string, 99.9% was work, and then the 1% was my family. And I was really wanting to turn that around. And so, I didn't have a job. I started studying analytics for the short course. I started thinking, what is the stuff that fills my cup? And then I thought, well, if I'm not working, I could do volunteer work. And so I went online, and because I grew up in Western Sydney, I wanted to see if I could give back to the kids back then. But then I found this organisation that was helping migrant women find friendship and settlement in the community. And I thought, oh, that kind of resonates with me, because I saw what my parents, my mum and my aunts had gone through. And so I connected that organisation. It was key into Australia. I met the two founders. There were these two mums who'd come to Australia with their husbands and little kids. Both were in the same park. Both did not have any friends or connections there, and they were only a bench apart from each other. And so when they finally connected, they recognized that there was a gap, and they wanted to build a community to help bring migrant women together just over a simple cup of coffee. So that's key into Australia. It's really come on a Saturday to a cafe, and for the price of coffee, come and have a great conversation. So it really is about human connection and storytelling. And for me, when I told my mum that story, I think she saw herself in that. And so I just knew that this is where I wanted to be. And then the other bit through that was the mentoring. And first of all, I kind of got involved with UNSW through their mentoring program. And so I did that a couple of times. And then every now and then, Calum gives me a call and we go for a great coffee and a catch up. I didn't actually know that was mentoring. And I think that's the beauty of the connection and the relationship. Yeah.
So yeah, that did really work out for you. As in, as yourself as an immigrant, and then joining this community, sharing your experience to them. it's kind of, yeah, giving back to the society.
Yeah, and I feel like, if I went through those experiences, maybe there's someone who hears my story, and sees themselves in there as well. If I can help just one person, then, I did my bit.
Mhm. And Callum, you have been part of ABCN where you have mentored a lot of students. So what motivated you to go into that space?
Yeah.
Can you share us the journey?
Yeah, sure. Well, ultimately, I think whether it's ABCN or I've mentored accountants through the CA program, and there's been, I suppose, what you'd call ad hoc mentoring as well. Ultimately, what it comes down to is I've received such an amazing gift in Czarina's mentoring, as well as others, and it's a case of how can I give back myself? And so whether that's through high school students who come with this amazing passion for what the future can be, or whether it's through one of my finance managers who wants to get their chartered accountancy, or whether it's through again a colleague's son. He wanted me to convince him not to do a gap year. I think this came with a little bit of a breach connotation, but just to give ideas about what's possible. Because one of the common themes that comes through, and this is whether you're a high school student, whether you're a grad, early career, mid career, late career, it's what's next. What options are there next for me? And look, not to say that the career path that I've taken is the best. It's definitely not. It's had some ups and downs. I've had some value out of it, but by sharing our journey, that can help, and by listening to what the mentee has to say, to listen to what their journey's been up to this point, it can start to tease out, even just from them, ideas that they hadn't thought of before.
Yeah. So it's not always like a one-way road. It's also like even the mentors can get something out of the mentee, understanding how their thinking is and what exactly many of the mentees are looking for. Yeah.
Oh, for
Absolutely.
sure. I mean, I think what's not obvious, maybe it's not obvious, but as a mentor, you get more out of it than I think the mentee does.
Well, I think it's very reciprocal, because you sit here like a mentor and mentee relationship is built on this like ultimate trust. Ultimately, it's built on trust, and there are some challenging questions, some challenging discussions, and I've been really challenged myself by some of the questions that says, well, why did you do it that way? And I reflect on it. Maybe I hadn't thought of that before. Maybe that wasn't the original intended approach. Maybe actually that was a really hard time in my life that I had to go through. So it's definitely reciprocal.
Yes, and like hearing about your motivations and your inspiring stories about what you do for volunteering and mentoring, a question just came into my head, like why? Everyone does some sort of mentoring in one way or another, whether it's by teaching their kids or like having a small community of students or a larger community. Everyone does it, but again, like, is it something it is rooted in the sense that they want to gives them this feeling of fulfillment or purpose, or is it more about to expand their reach or influence? Like what is more volunteering for you? Like, where does it fit in the spectrum?
For me, I think it comes back down to my experiences. And so growing up, learning, it was a very education-focused upbringing. It was more practice as opposed to love it. And I feel like it's from that experience, maybe as an 8-year-old, I thought, why don't you teach me differently? And then in high school, when I had tutors, it was rote learning. And me as a person, didn't resonate with me. I didn't learn that way. And then as I went into the workforce, and then I had staff or started to get direct reports, the way I started teaching was more born out of, I wish this is how I was taught. And then once I worked that out, and then it was received well in the manner that I got the outcomes that I wanted from my direct reports. I went, okay, there's another way to teach. So for me, and I think it comes from that experience, which is probably the way I build my teams and to get the best out of them. Because, working in corporate, you do see the best and the worst of people. And it's very easy to see where there is a bad or a poor management style and the direct impact it has on the employee. And so for me, mental health, well-being, that is really, really important to me, because I feel like if you get that right, then you can get the best out of your people.
Right. So it's more driven, like the sense of purpose, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And like, since Zarina has been a mentor to Callum for a really long time, I would like to know, like, how did this mentor-mentee relationship begin?
This is
Okay.
the story. Well, mate, I think I mentioned it earlier. I don't know at what point it triggered a mentee-mentor relationship. But if I go right back to the beginning, I remember I think I just started at what was called Transfield Services at that stage. I was in a meeting room with my line manager, and we were going through a systems transformation, and we had to come up with I think it was like profit center structures or WBS structure. It was to come up with the structure and how we were going to report our finances. Right. And Czarina and I think one of her team had come out from Australia to help support in, I think it was to support in creation of that structure or to govern it. And we were going through this discussion back and forth. We were going through this discussion, going back and forth. And I think at the end of it, my manager at the time, my line manager said, "Look, Czarina, is there anything that we can do for you? Is there anything that we can give you? Is there anything you need?" And I think Czarina's comment was, "Oh, we'll have Calum, thanks." And now, mentors can be a number of things. They can be a butt kicker. They can be a teacher. They can be an absolute supporter. And I think in that situation, for me, Czarina was an absolute cheerleader for me. It was hugely reassuring as I just joined this company that I'm wanted, I'm needed, I'm adding value. And it built that level of trust from the very beginning that meant that I could then go to Czarina over the years since then and ask for advice, share pain.
So it was more like an indirect way you became a mentee and not a directly.
Yeah, it wasn't. So
it was not intended.
I don't think so. I think there are some relationships that are built with intention. And there are some, I've definitely done structured mentoring in the past, and I've had structured mentoring where it is for this specific amount of time, you will be allocated this mentor. Here's a framework. You will go through this process over 6 weeks. And at the end of it, you will have got some sort of an outcome. There's a place, absolutely a place for structured mentoring. But I really like the way Simon Sinek describes mentoring. It's kind of as this friendship that's grown where you're here not just to hang out, but you're here to support each other in your career or in your ambition in some way.
Yeah, no, I think it's just been beautiful the way it's evolved, and it's already moved on beyond the formal workplace. Yes. So if at the beginning it came about because of I guess hierarchical structure, but then Calum was just always very proactive, right? So no matter how busy or crazy things were, he would always be checking in over the years. And I think it really was on him to help develop and help the relationship continue, because it wasn't a structured program, and I loved our conversations, right? And I guess because of that hierarchy, I and it wasn't a natural program. and until it became a friendship at some point, it wasn't a very, hey, Callum, let's go for coffee, because it was still a professional relationship. But then that's the beauty of it, is as you go through life, you move on, and then we've been able to stay in touch and keep helping each other throughout different stages of both our lives.
Yes.
And so I think it's been a real credit to Callum to keeping the relationship going. And because we started off with that professional aspect, helping each other grow in our careers and pushing each other, as we're going through, post grad and going, what the hell are we doing? It's just naturally evolved. Whereas in other instances, when I have done mentoring, it is for that structured period of time, and you give a lot of yourself. You release a lot of that vulnerability because you really want to pass it on to the student. And then for me, sometimes it's a bit hard where you never hear from the student again. And you're like, oh, I wonder how they're doing. I gave a lot of myself, and I know an outcome was good, but now that you've got success, it'd be nice to. And I think that's where it becomes really hard, because as everyone gets busy and everyone gets on with their life, it's easy to lose those connections until the time when something happens. For example, knock on wood, you lose your job, and you're like, oh, damn it, I wish I'd kept in touch with Callum, right? Because then it makes it harder to then go, hey, Callum, want to go coffee?
Yeah.
Because really my main reason for contacting you is I need a job.
Yeah, you don't want the start of the conversation to be, oh, I haven't talked to you for like 3 years. How's the job market going?
Yeah, and that's not the only reason why you should maintain contact, because obviously the conversations are so rich and you get more out of it. But that's something that I experienced because I wasn't very good with maintaining those connections. Maybe because I thought everyone else was also busy with their life. And so when you do get into that position where perhaps you've lost your job, it's like, oh God, that's when you really I wish I had maintained that connection. And but the other part is just networking as well. Yeah.
So, like, since you guys were working before together,
Yes.
and like like you were seeking guidance from Zarina. In that process, does it ever happen it creates a disruption with the line manager? Like you're seeking some guidance from a different person than the line manager?
It really depends on the line manager. And so in my case, I've been very thankful that a lot of my line managers have been great leaders. And so coming back to some of our early discussion around what leadership is truly about, the growth of not just the company, but of the individual as well. A lot of my line managers were great leaders. They were focused on my career development, my growth, and they saw Czarina as someone who can really help me to grow. And anything that I wanted to do in that respect, they were very supportive of. So there were never any issues, I suppose, with...
No, in fact, it would be Callum's line manager going, hey, can you look after Callum when he comes to Australia?
Yeah, and it's all these discussions.
That's probably why I did it, actually. I'm like, who's Callum?
Yeah.
Was there any point in time like there was a very specific challenge that you were struggling with, and like Zarina's advice kind of helped you solve it? Can you recall? Can you share with some stories?
I think, without going into lots of detail, corporate life can get really challenging. And it's never the task that's the challenge. It's usually people. And the relationships that we build and being able to grow those relationships. And I think there are absolutely times where I have struggled in the last 10 years and had to go to Czarina and say, look, I just need 8 minutes of your time. I just need a coffee. I just need to sit down. I just need a vent because I'll probably come to the conclusions myself anyway. But to be able to do that in an environment where I feel comfortable, it can help break through some of those barriers.
I remember those conversations.
So When it comes to mentoring, Zarina, what do you look for in the mentee? Like what skills, what abilities do you look for so that you could become a mentor to them?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going through a formal program, the mentee has come to a conclusion themselves, and a good one, because they're out there reaching, they're recognizing that there is experience out there that I could learn from, and so in that environment, they want to learn, they want to listen, and it works well for me because I just want to talk. So it's for me, it's always been great where I can share my experience to a situation that they perhaps are going through, and then they can form whatever they want from that to help them resolve where they're an outcome. Yeah, so it's really just their willingness to want to learn and to listen, and it's just that humility in that relationship. That's probably mostly the experience that I've had with mentoring. Sometimes, I'm just talking and then they'll be like, "Oh, can I just grab pen and paper before you say anything else?" I'm like, "Okay."
I need to document this great
Like,
wisdom.
okay.
Yeah. I think that's the epitome of mentoring when someone finally takes down notes.
Yeah.
What you're saying. It's like, yeah, it's gonna really help them.
Yeah, and I feel like you go through, and this is where don't ever discredit your life experience, because this is your story, and then from that so much good can come out of it, and I think that's all I'm doing in giving back is because I've had a lot of challenges in growing up and all of these things, and trying to find my own voice in the corporate landscape. To go, you know what, here's how it could be, here's what I wish I had.
Right. So yeah, now let's move on to the last part of the podcast. So we're ending on this one last question. There are a lot of international students and fresh graduates who want to break into the finance career. So what advice would you give to them?
So I can't talk to the challenges of moving in terms of visas and all of that, but for me, what helped me breaking into finance, and the equivalent here is probably internships. Like, just get whatever experience you can get, whether it's working in a cafe, working in a restaurant, working in hospitality, because you're getting to know the culture. And because the same thing that I talked about earlier about when you are in an office environment, it's getting to know the people in there, just small conversations, right? Practice getting to know the people around you. That goes a long way. And so, get as many, get as many casual jobs as you can, internships, in finance, no matter how little. Like, my first job was a storeroom clerk, doing the inventory, but then I linked that to the inventory account on the balance sheet, right? So don't ever think any job is too little just because it doesn't have a finance title on it. But yeah, it's just even in retail, right? You can start to see how accounting works in it, because that's still a business. Someone's still doing the accounts for there. So yeah, it's just getting out there and really getting as much experience as you can, no matter what type of job that is, because you can only ever build from it.
And particularly when it comes to the customer service or the customer facing roles, it's getting more and more important to be able to build relationships in the workplace, to be able to communicate with a broad, diverse stakeholder base. And so having that customer service experience is amazing for anyone who's looking at getting into finance. It comes down to that, I think we've mentioned it a couple of times, storytelling, and to be able to communicate effectively is really important. I think the only other thing that I'd add to it is really look at building the network.
Yeah.
And this does come naturally to a lot of people. There's debates as to whether it's easier for extroverts or introverts.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, building a network is hard for everyone. It is work. And maintaining those networks over time and keeping in touch with people and keeping those networks fresh is really important.
Yeah. Actually, on networking, I was terrified. Like I'd always been terrified of networking. And it wasn't only until a couple of, maybe almost a year ago now, where it was after post the, with UNSW, that I then realized how much fun it actually could be. Like all of a sudden there was no pressure to, I don't know, I just felt pressure, and I was always very shy to walk up or speak to anybody. But now that I realize, hey, it's just a conversation. And it's genuinely me getting to know you a little bit more. All of a sudden, all of it just disappeared, and now it's just a whole lot of fun, and we can do podcasts. Yeah. I don't even know how this happened.
But when Czarina reached out and she said, "Do you want to do this?" I said, "Absolutely, yeah."
Yeah, one thing leads to another.
Exactly.
But yeah, thank you so much, Zarina and Callum, for being on the podcast and having such a heartfelt conversation and sharing your insights and advice. It would be really helpful for our audiences. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
And thanks for having us along.
Thank you. It's a great experience. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you like this episode, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. And share this episode with anyone who might benefit from it. If you want to be part of diaXpora and want to be on our podcast to ask questions to our guest, please click on the link in the description and share us your thoughts. And until then, keep growing, stay inspired. Thank you.